What I really want you to understand tonight in this talk is that there is a massive worldview revolution taking place in America. How many of you know that we're right in the middle of a revolution in America right now? We are. Most Americans don't know that we're in the middle of a revolution because they believe that a revolution involves a civil war or guns and bullets. But this, folks, is a new kind of revolution. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Herbert Marcuse. You all know him, even if you don't know his name. He coined the phrase, make love, not war. He was part of the Frankfurt School that came here to America at the invitation of John Dewey in 1933, and were dropped down at Brandeis, Berkeley, Princeton, and began to implement what's called cultural Marxism. But you didn't know it is that because they wouldn't dare use that phrase, although that's really what it was. For more than 80 years, they've called it political correctness. Political correctness. But the real term is cultural Marxism. And Herbert Marcuse consulted the radical students of the 60s, like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and the other leaders of the radical 60s movement. And he taught them here in America how to have a revolution. And here's what he said. He said, one can rightfully speak of a cultural revolution since the protest is directed toward the whole cultural establishment, including what? The morality of existing society. So it's a revolution to overthrow the morality of that nation. There is one thing we can say, he said, with complete assurance. The traditional idea of revolution and the traditional strategy of revolution has ended. He goes on to say, these ideas are old-fashioned. What we must undertake is a type of diffuse and dispersed disintegration of the system. Folks, that's what they're doing. It is a disintegration of the system, overthrowing the society's morality, implementing a new morality and a new system. They're collapsing and destroying the old traditional system on purpose. He's not only saying, look, we need to go after the old ways and destroy them. We will go after them, though, with a new type of revolution. The old ways of revolution, guns and bullets, don't work. We're not going to do it the way Stalin or Lenin or Castro did. This is a new type of revolution. This revolution will be done from within. It's really what Herbert Marcuse is really citing what Antonio Gramsci, the Italian communist who told Mussolini, this is not how you go about a revolution. You go about a revolution by changing their worldview. You don't go about it through guns and bullets. And Mussolini didn't like that and had Antonio Gramsci thrown in prison where he died. Well, people like Saul Alinsky, who wrote Rules for Radicals, we look at in part 1, studied Antonio Gramsci. People like Herbert Marcuse studied Antonio Gramsci, and they're saying there's a new way to have a lasting revolution, and that new way is to penetrate the system, every aspect of the culture. Church, seminaries, colleges, parent groups, teacher groups, every institution, destroy their morality and have a new revolution. So folks, we're involved in a revolution in America. Now it's a worldview revolution. Your worldview is the foundation of your values is the foundation of your conduct. Change their worldview, you'll change their values. Change their values, they'll change the way they live and conduct their life. Now who did the Frankfurt School study when they came to America? They'd been over there in Germany from 23 to 33. Before Hitler came to power, then they got nervous, came over here because some of them were of Jewish descent. But who did they primarily study over there and then over here and implement with their cultural Marxism, which you know is political correctness? They primarily studied 4 guys. They studied Karl Marx, they studied Sigmund Freud, they studied Friedrich Nietzsche, and they studied George Hegel. Now, what did these guys say? If you want to understand the revolution, the worldview revolution taking place in America, you must first understand who influenced them and their worldview and their ideas and their philosophies that they're using to carry out this revolution. So the Frankfurt School really summed it up this way. If I were to take what they wrote in all their many prolific writings, and I have a whole chapter on the Frankfurt School in the book Grave Influence, if I were to serve it up and sum it up in one sentence, it would be that the Frankfurt School's goal was Christianity and capitalism is the source of all suffering and oppression. Christianity and capitalism are the source of all suffering and oppression. Where would they have gotten this idea, pray tell? Well, they would have gotten them from these 4 men. Let's look at the first one, Freud. What did Freud say? He says, among these instinctual wishes are those of incest, cannibalism, and the lust for killing. He said, these are your natural inclinations. And we'll look at what Freud said in a few minutes, but Freud thought the only really truly sane ones were the neurotics. who are living out their natural inclinations. Who else did they study at the Frankfurt School? Karl Marx. What did Marx say? My object in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. That's a direct quote. How about this from Nietzsche? God is dead. He not only said God is dead, but he also said, I call Christianity the one great curse, the one enormous and innermost perversion, the one moral blemish of mankind. Friedrich Nietzsche, the father of postmodernism. George Hegel is the fourth man they studied and brought to America their ideals that are ruling from the grave and laying the foundation for this worldview revolution in America is George Hegel. He's the fourth individual. I would sum up the worldview of George Hegel as this: thesis and antithesis, opinion and opposite opinion. And they fight, they conflict, they merge together, or they synthesize together, and they produce a third option, which is now called the third way.